so Mitch.
Yeah.
You know what a cold opening is?
What's that?
Do you know what a cold opening is?
Cold opening? Like opening of a cold one?
Yeah, this is a cold opening. Welcome everyone to the SSG Podcast, where we have gaming news and discussion. Once again, it is me, Chris, your host. Indeed, I know you guys have missed me. And I'm here with Mitch. How you doing, man?
Howdy, partner.
Oh, that sounded so redneck. Anyways, roll tide.
Roll
you guys,
tide, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, roll tide. I hope you guys are having a great week so far. I want to thank everyone who's listened to the podcast at this point. Seriously, it's been great to have the support from you guys. And by all means, if you want to leave any feedback on how we can do things better, or if you just want to yell at us, or if you want to talk about some games with us, please follow us on our social media links. And what are those, Mitch?
We are on Facebook at facebook.com/SSG Podcast. We are on Twitter at the @ SSG_podcast. And we are on Spreaker.com/Chris and Mitch.
And you can also find us on YouTube. In case,
YouTube.
Yeah. So we actually have a YouTube account, which is SSG Podcast. Just search for us. You'll see our ugly red and white logo with our mugs planted on it, and then you'll know that you've made it to the place where you probably shouldn't have gone. So today it's going to be a much different episode than the last 2 weeks because we were trying to cover E3 and get through all that. So as we're sitting around our campfire, as we tend to do, we were just going, just screaming and freaking out, going, "What are we going to do this week?" And then it's just, we both realized it's like, no, wait, we're a gaming news and discussion podcast. Okay, that's what we'll do. So we came across a couple of news articles that we actually want to touch base on. Some interesting things going on in the gaming industry, or at least what we thought were interesting.
Yeah.
And, the first thing we want to jump into is Sony being a douchebag with Fortnite restrictions on Nintendo Switch. What's up with that, Mitch?
So at E3, Nintendo announced that Fortnite is finally coming to Switch, which it should have already been there. You can play Fortnite on your phone. You can play it on your Nintendo Switch. Come on. But it finally got the port it deserved. And turns out a lot of people, when they downloaded their Fortnite on their Switch, they went to go link their Epic accounts from their PlayStation to their Switch. They got an error code basically saying that it was forbidden and that they would have to make a new account in order to even access like the Epic, rewards. I know that you can get the Battle Pass, which is their like $10 season pass to unlock different things, but yeah, Sony's not playing well with the old crossover game. They're obviously winning in the console wars as they were, and they're just playing. They're playing business ball.
It's hardball. They're playing hardball with this whole thing.
Yeah,
for no
they're
reason.
playing. They're playing like Microsoft did last generation. It's just the flip of the coin. When you're ahead, you're like, why would I play with the others when I'm doing when I can do it by myself, But I believe their point was that there was 80 million consoles in the wild for PS4. There's a good chance that someone that's playing Fortnite's already playing Fortnite, and that if you want to play Fortnite with them, just play it on your PS4, and that you can cross-play right now with PS4, PC, and mobile. Obviously not Xbox, and now thanks to this, not with Nintendo Switch either.
That's bullcrap. I think that's utter nonsense because, look, Sony, I know you're not listening to our podcast because you think you have better things to do here. But, listen, you can't just step up and say, well, there's 80 million PS4s out in the wild. If people want to play Fortnite with their friends, and they'll just find a random PlayStation and jump on in. That's the dumbest thing one of the dumbest things I've actually heard.
Yeah, insane.
We need more cross-platforming, and I'm hoping that I hope in some aspects that Epic Games end up like pushing a little harder at Sony. I don't think it will happen. I think they've kind of, well, this occurred and now that you have to cross over, but it's like, they're just bridging this whole thing and just saying, what else can we do, guys? We've tried our best. But literally, I'm just thinking, all those people that have spent all that money on the PlayStation version of Fortnite, and then it's like, oh, well, I also have a Switch, now I can play it on Switch, and no, now you got to spend all that money again if you want to get those, skins, the cosmetic stuff, whatever.
Yeah, it's just skins like emotes and little dances you can do.
You got to start all over again, though.
Yeah.
Give me.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, in all honesty, what that would make me then do is just say, I mean, I don't know, if I played Fortnite and I knew I had friends with Switches who played Fortnite as well, I probably wouldn't play the Switch Fortnite. I don't know. Either I would jump full on board and never play Fortnite again on PS4, or I would never touch the game on Switch.
Well, that's actually what happened. Whenever this story broke, I believe it's a few days old now, but because it was right after E3, I believe right after we recorded our podcast, so we didn't get to cover it then. But lost my train of thought. Oh, there are a lot of PlayStation players. Obviously, when I almost look at it as Nintendo is not your direct competitor, Sony. Yeah. There's no harm, no foul in just letting you link the accounts. I'm sure it's easy as flicking the light switch on. It has to be. If I'm not mistaken, you can link your PC and your PS4 accounts together, which would make sense. So why not? I don't know. It's just the ego. It's the big head.
You do it in Warframe. I mean, my PS4 account is connected to my Twitch account, which is connected to my Amazon Prime account, which allows me to get free stuff occasionally for Warframe.
Exactly. If you have Amazon Prime, you have Twitch Prime. Anyways.
Which is great. Which is fantastic.
What was the original question? I'm sorry, I got a little off topic.
Well, no, it's just it's not so much even it being an original question in general. It's just the fact that there's no Sony is literally not allowing progress to happen.
Yeah. Okay. I remember what I was saying now before I went off my little tangent. A lot of Xbox not Xbox players rather, Sony players, PlayStation players, they're saying, well, I want to play the game on the Switch. It's easy. You can play it anywhere. You're at a restaurant with your friends, you can just hop on, play the game. A lot of them are switching from PlayStation to Xbox just so they can balance their progress, so to speak. They're like, why would I play PlayStation when my progress won't carry over to my Switch, but I could just play on Xbox with my friends on the Switch and vice versa, and my progress is always being uploaded.
So this could be the start of something really interesting that we should follow, because this lack of wanting to jump into crossplay or cross-platforming could bite Sony in the butt.
I hope it does. I absolutely adore Sony, but I hope it. I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. I hope it bites them in the ass.
But okay, this is me personally thinking, just outside the box. One of the main reasons why I think they don't want to open up cross-platforming it is a business move. They're wanting to close things down because they're just, stubborn. But remember a couple of years back when they had that big security breach?
Yeah, I do.
I think we're still living in a time period where they're still paranoid about letting other people in. It's like a broken relationship.
Yeah, but
just let them in, Sony. Just let people in.
You have to trust again, Sony.
Yes, you have to learn to trust. And Nintendo's not trying to hurt you. Nintendo's trying to help you.
Exactly.
This is like, I remember this same conversation kind of started up when it wasn't it wasn't the same actually, but it was a similar. This is what started it a little bit. Was when you couldn't do cross-platforming with Rocket League.
Oh yeah.
And so now it's like I think Sony is still in its own little bubble. Like the PlayStation Rocket League is still in its own little bubble. Whereas if I was playing Rocket League on the Xbox, then I'd be playing with people who also played it on PC, and I'm assuming the Switch as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe when it launched, that was one of the features. I believe that honestly, I may be wrong on this, so we might need to fact check it. But I believe that PS4 can also play with Nintendo Switch. I may be wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, let me see here. Rocket League cross-platforming.
All right. So while you're fact checking that, let me just give you an insight into the head of Sony. The other day, I was scrolling through social media as one does, and I stumbled across a article that wasn't. It was, I believe it was comicbook.com, because it's like one of the first things that pops up. Because I'm a DC nerd. But, anyways, the link, I didn't believe it at first, but because this is how bizarre it is. It's a Fortnite themed PS4. I don't believe it's a Pro. So they're bundling Fortnite with the PS4.
What?
For anyone who doesn't, for anyone who's living under a rock and doesn't know what Fortnite is a free-to-play game for the Battle Royale, and that's what everyone plays it for. So they're packaging a free game with a PS4. And I believe the only incentive is an exclusive, quote-unquote, skin for the PS4, like a PS4 exclusive skin, and 500 V-Bucks, which is the equivalent of like $5. So someone at Sony's like, man, we like Fortnite, but we don't know how to do anything.
Let me tell you something. I'll tell you how I can give an example of how trash that is. When I went 3 years ago to buy my PlayStation 4, I took part of a promotion that gave me a free game. Do you want to take a guess what that free game was?
What year was it?
This was 3 years ago, so it was 2015.
Is it third party?
Yeah, it's a third party game, and it's one of the best third party games that we've ever had, from a like cinematic storytelling wise.
Huh. Third party?
Yeah, it was released on other consoles. I think it was. Yeah, it was. That's third party.
Shadow of Mordor?
No. Last of Us Remastered.
No, that's Sony only.
That's not. Is that Sony only? Is that seriously Sony?
Last of Us is Naughty Dog, which is Sony's developer.
For real? Okay. All right. Well, I just embarrassed myself, but
it's all good.
Seriously?
It came out on PS3, but so it technically was on something else, but it got remastered for the 4. Yeah, Naughty Dog is. I don't think they're owned by Sony, but they obviously are in bed with Sony. Uncharted.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm sorry.
Crash Bandicoot.
I'm sorry.
Now.
I don't know why I thought that Last of Us also released on.
Yeah.
Oh no, I know why. Because the other game that I got with it, I got it for like $10. I ended up getting like 2 other games when I got the system. The other game I got was Diablo 3 because it was a game.
Okay.
It was a game I knew I would play a lot of.
Yeah.
And Destiny 1.
Oh man.
For $10.
It's definitely worth it for $10.
Yeah, that was. And I kept that same copy up until. Actually, I probably still have that same copy somewhere around here. But
this is totally a side tangent, but when I first played Destiny, I was in love with that game. I fell head over heels for it and spent way too much time in it.
I think, or the first time that I played Destiny, I hated it. The year one stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I could not stand it. The way
Oh man, that's the only part I like.
the leveling aspect and everything was terrible. The gunplay and stuff was fun. You know, you get a gun and you can shoot. But like,
I'll never forget that. Whenever me and my friends finished the game and we were like, "Hey, what's this level?" and like no one knew because Bungie wasn't. They were terrible at telling us what the light level was and how to max it and how it worked. And so I remember getting super good gear and like I was breaking it down because I didn't know any better.
oh
Yeah, it was dark times.
yeah, I started really enjoying Destiny 1 again when Taken King. Yeah, can't remember which came first, the Rise of Iron or Taken. No, it was Taken King. Taken King.
Rise of Iron was the last one.
Yeah. So when
Taken King was like the first big one because the year one content was like Crota and
the Crota raid. It was the that one, and then the
House of Wolves.
House of Wolves. Yep, House of Wolves came first, and then the Crota was like the big mega raid.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure House of Wolves.
I thought Crota came first because that was like December-ish.
Well, we can
and
fact
then
check
House
that.
of Wolves were next.
We can
Yeah, I
fact
got
check
you.
that. Nah, I'm looking into it right now. Where
all right.
are my DLCs?
Yeah, I didn't do the raid in Destiny 1 because Destiny was actually the reason I upgraded to next gen. It looked like the first next gen. I loved Halo. It was one of my favorite games. It still is one of my favorite franchises of all time. So I was like, yep, Bungie, PS4, now's the time to do it. So I did. And then I had two other guys that I played with. We played it all the way through, got max level, never found any other people to do the raid with. The first raid, with the Vex. I don't remember what it was called.
House
if it
of
even had a
Glass.
name.
House of Glass. Or not House
That's
of Vault
it.
of Glass. Vault of Glass.
Vault of Glass, that's it, yep.
Oh, I hated that one. Oh.
And this is when this is before anyone finished it with like 2 or 3 to 4, even 4 people. And we were like, yep, I guess it's time to get off Destiny because there's nothing we can do until the next update. And then we just never went back.
And the unfortunate side effects is that's what they would do with their content. So, and you were right, by the way. Dark Below, that was the first one that added the Crota's in that raid.
Yeah, because I tried jumping back into that, and I remember it was only a few months afterwards. It was like towards December, correct?
Yeah, it actually came out in December 9th.
Wow. Good memory I have. But I jumped in, and I did a few of the missions. It had a bunch of Hive stuff, if I remember correctly, and didn't get to do the raid again, so I was like, Destiny by yourself is a slow burn.
Yeah, Destiny by yourself isn't recommended.
Yeah.
So December 9th was when Dark Below came out, and then House of Wolves came out in
March?
May 19th.
Ooh.
May 19th.
Ooh, a 6-month period between those two? Wow.
Yeah, that's unfortunately is what. And this is this side effect of like this whole MMO mentality of where developers still don't understand how to make a. Put it to you like this: when a new expansion comes out for World of Warcraft, yeah, you've got those people that are just like they'll be at max level and ready to raid within like a week.
Yeah.
But the majority of people, they take their time with the content because they want to see the stories. They want to read, what's going on. And at least that's how it was back when I played the game.
Right.
You want to explore every nook and cranny because it's a Blizzard game. And Blizzard, come on, it's quality. And you want to experience it. Unfortunately, with Destiny, it's a first-person shooter, and people are just going to go balls to the walls, figure everything out. And it might have something to do with just the mentality of people playing video games today.
Yeah.
But it just felt like people didn't take nearly as much time to figure stuff out.
And also, Bungie has a pretty deep history of hiding little things here and there, and with all the skulls and everything in Halo.
Yeah, but it's still a first-person shooter. Like, it's still very surface-level stuff. It's really cool, but, there's so much... then again, World of Warcraft has been going on for 14 years. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it is insane. So there's a ton of stuff that you can go back and look at, and you could just there are storylines and quest lines that you can just, you don't even you will out level the content faster than anything. But I don't know. It's
I like doing that in games though.
Do what?
I like doing that in video games. I like to over level myself.
Yeah, and I do too. And you'll quickly do that in World of Warcraft to the point to where you're like, why am I even in this area anymore? I'm not getting anything. And then you'll find the next area that that technically you can go to in Quest, and you'll jump over there and start doing that, and until you max level. But the point is with Destiny though that they would space out the content so few and far between that you'd have a couple of months of where you weren't doing anything.
Yeah.
So like the Taken King came out in September 2015, and it was at that point that they changed a lot of the mechanics of the game, the light levels, and all that kind of stuff. It made the game a lot more fun. I met some people, who played the game as well, and we all jumped in on the content and started, having a fun time. And even through Rise of Iron, and up until a couple months after Rise of Iron, there's sometime in 2017 when I just was like, I'm done with Destiny. So.
Hey, I gotta give you props, man, for hopping back in there.
It was fun, actually. It was really fun. You get some. I never finished a raid. By the way, I was never able to finish a raid, but we got through a couple of raid bosses.
There's many bosses in between.
So for each raid, a raid is usually like this. You'll have essentially mini bosses. You'll have 2 or 3 bosses that will give you loot. They'll give you loot. It'll be nice. But until you actually defeat the boss of the raid, you don't complete the raid. So like we got through 2 of the bosses on, I think it was one of the last. It was the Wrath of the Machine. That was the big final raid of the first Destiny.
That for Rise of Iron?
No, that was after Rise of Iron. We got through the first 2 bosses, but we never got all the way to the end. And I never got past that second boss beyond that first time, because at that point I just got tired. And it reminded me of my days of when I played World of Warcraft. I hated raiding in that because you'd spend 4 to 6 hours just bashing your head against this content, and you wouldn't get any progress. And you'd have to be, all right, we're going to pick this up tomorrow night. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
So not to cut you off or anything, but I was playing the game, and I was max level or near max level, so it had to have been either right before Crota or a little after Crota. We had 4 or 5 people. These 2 guys were veterans of Destiny, and they were going to carry us through the raid, and we got to the very end, but I'm not sure. I'll ask you instead of looking it up, I guess, because you know more about this, but were you able to save progress later on in raids? Like, instead of, like, was there checkpoints?
Yeah. There was, once you defeated a boss, there was essentially a checkpoint, and there was a weekly reset. So you could keep trying on that one run that you were doing of that raid for that week.
Okay. That might actually have been a thing then, back then, because this was Vault of Glass. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it didn't have many bosses. I don't think there was checkpoints. I may be wrong about that.
There were bosses.
There were?
There was a boss at the start of it. I remember there was a boss, and because I've wiped in many groups on that boss encounter.
Really?
Yeah, it was frustrating, but even
I don't remember that.
It's kind of funny when took a group. It was like about 3 or 4 of us. We actually went and tried to, after Rise of Iron came out, and we I think my light level maxed out at like 370 or something like that. I can't remember. But I remember three or four of us tried to go back to the Vault of Glass and said, okay, we over leveled the content. Let's see if we can, make it in and defeat the boss and everything like that. And we couldn't even get past the first freaking
really
yeah. Because I think what the game would do is it would
scale to your level.
Scale to your level. Yeah. It wouldn't scale to your level. It would scale you down to the content.
Oh wow! Ugh.
Yeah.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, games do that a lot of times.
Yeah, nah. So yeah, maybe there is mini bosses. Maybe my memory just jogged a little bit. But we got to the very end, and one of the guys that one of the quote unquote pros that have done it, they're not really pros. They're veterans, I guess.
They have a name for that, by the way. The people that carry you through raids like that.
What's that?
There's an official. I can't remember what it is, but there's an official name for those types of people because there's literally a subreddit where if you need help with certain content, you reach out to these people and they'll jump in and they'll help you out.
Oh, cool. Well, since we don't know the term, we're going to call them nerds. So these two nerds.
That's right.
That's all good. They'll be okay. These two nerds were carrying us through, and one of them had to get off to go do something with their family. Or something. I don't remember. It's been a long time. It's been like 3 or 4 years. Anywho, so it might have just been close to weekly reset if there were checkpoints then, because we weren't going to be able to get it done. And yeah, we got to the very, very, the very end and never got done. And that was a huge blow to me because I like doing everything in games. Especially games that I love. I think it's the highest compliment I can give to a game is either 100%ing it or getting all the achievements / trophies, whatever. Yeah. Watching all the credits, all that kind of nerdy stuff. But anyways, yeah, it was a huge blow when I couldn't finish everything that Destiny put in front of me. And it wasn't my fault necessarily. It was just that I didn't know or have any help.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's currently turning me off to the Division 2. I was like, yeah, new Division. I didn't really get into the first one. This one looks cool. It's in DC, one of my favorite places. Let's go. And then they were like, oh yeah, we're doing raids. And I was like, oh no, let's not. But it's good for people who do it, but I'll probably never be able to do it.
I mean, they've got, in the Division 1, a lot of the missions are essentially looked as like dungeons in World of Warcraft, or they're
but they're much more smaller scale than raids, right?
Well, yeah, that's what they're meant to be. So even in Destiny, you could go and do these crap, I forget what they're called, but they'd essentially be they're instances, right? They're these, you move from point A to point B to point C, and you're going to defeat a difficult boss at the end of it. But you're in a 3-man party.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting, gear and all that kind of stuff as you progress through the whole thing. So raids are just the next step beyond that. So like I said, in the Division, you could have a group of, I think you could have a party of 4 people.
Okay.
And you could do these missions. You could do hard mode missions, that give you a little bit more loot, but they weren't considered raids. Raids are where you take, in Destiny, for example, instead of a 3-man party team, you got a 6-man team. So they can make the content that much more difficult and require you to interact with people on a whole different level, so they can change up the mechanics a little bit more. It's funny, when I played WoW, my favorite boss encounters were what we called a tank and spank.
Please enlighten me why it's called that.
So essentially, you would have, you'd have a 5-man group. Okay, that would be your normal instances would be 5 people, and generally speaking, you'd have a tank. A tank is, takes the role of stealing the aggro or the attention of the monster or creature, and essentially holds the threat level. It makes the creature attacking look at that tank and think that that's the more threatening, party member.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
Then you'd have the healer, whose job is who's supposed to just be healing the tank. to keep him alive, him or her
Right.
alive. But then they can also though throw a heal on top of the next. It's the holy trinity of like MMO gaming. You got the tank, the healer, and the DPS.
Right.
Well, so then you have the 3 DPS damage dealers. They're just shooting at the boss or doing whatever attack. Sometimes they're melee, sometimes they're range, whatever. They're just attacking the boss. Tank and Spank is literally the tank runs up to the boss and just gets aggro, and everyone just stands back and just shoots at it. And that's all you have to do. There's no other mechanics. There's no moving around. There's no, second phase, nothing like that. It's just straightforward.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying now. I just never heard it called that, and I wish I would have before now.
Yeah, Tank and Spank. Those were my favorites because they were done just like that. And I think with them introducing kind of like classes a little bit in the Division 2, then you may end up having something like that where, you know what, you need a healer, or you need these guys to give as much damage as possible, or this one guy may play the role of a tank. He can take a little bit more damage, doesn't do as much damage as the other characters, but he takes more damage, and he's able to steal the attention off of the bad guys. So there's some mechanics in the raids that I think they could, improve upon the PvE situation. But regardless, You're going to be dealing with bullet sponges.
Yeah, that's true. I'll give it a shot for sure. I'm looking forward to the Division 2. I just started the Division, I guess the only Division, last week.
Yeah.
Haven't played too much. I got to like level 7 or 8. It's fun.
Yeah, it can be a fun time if you've got people to play with. If you know that you've got people that are going to cover you, watch your back.
Yeah.
It makes for an entirely different experience. But if you have to play by yourself and you got to be super careful and you can't just go running in, and I don't know, it just
Yeah, that's a big reason I haven't played yet. Because when I started, I had to do the tutorial, which is a little longer than normal, I reckon. But then me and you played, as we discussed last week. We played a little bit, and then you had some life things pop up, and you had to go tend to those. So I kind of just faded off of it. But we should definitely. Well, I've been super busy this week, but we should hop back into that sometime.
Yeah, if we can find the time, definitely. So I want to move on to another topic, if that's all right.
Yeah, let's do it.
This one's a little bit more serious. It's a little more. It kind of has a lot to do with what we were just talking about as far as like playing the games and all that kind of stuff. But recently, the World Health Organization came out and stated that game addiction is an official thing.
This was news to me today.
They've actually... Let me see if I can pull this article up, because I don't want to...
Butcher it. Got it.
Yeah. My browser crashed on this.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and now I got to make sure that this ad doesn't load, because it would really ruin everything.
Don't ruin the podcast ad.
Yeah. Well, let's close that. And I think we're fine. I'm going to say we're fine.
Good.
Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, so according to an article, this is on Newsweek.com, and there goes the freaking ad. So you're going to hear a little thing in the background there, guys, and I'm sorry about that. What the heck? So the title of this article is Gaming Disorder, How to Know If You Are Addicted to Video Games and How to Get Help. And they make it sound like it's such a...
It seems like they're putting on the same scale as basically... It's as... What's the word I'm looking for?
It's an epidemic.
Yeah.
This is... Oh my gosh, guys, gaming, it's such a problem. I don't know. I'm not making light of the entire situation. I do think it's a bit ridiculous, but
it is.
At
least I think it is as well.
according to this article, it says on Monday, and this is me quoting from the article, it says on Monday the agency added gaming disorder to its international classification of diseases, which was last updated in 1990. Okay. I do think you can become addicted to aspects of gaming. I do think you can become, there's, like for me, when I played World of Warcraft for 4 years, and I was straight up a madman in that game. Would I say I was addicted to the gameplay? No, not entirely. I was addicted to the fact that I had a social life through the game. And
that, or it could be like for me, when I'm like super into like a game or something, like if it's not multiplayer, when I'm not socializing with someone, there's usually a checklist in a video game, and I like ticking off those little things. Maybe that's just the OCD in me, though.
Yeah, but some people could look at that as being like that's an aspect of the game that makes it addicting, though.
But being, I guess, I wouldn't say that I'm addicted to the game. I'm more addicted to the feeling of accomplishment, feeling like I'm making progress towards something. And maybe that something isn't something in the real world.
Well, I just think of this. I think that people, when it comes to gaming disorder as being a thing, I don't always feel like they're addicted to, like, kind of like what you said. They're not addicted to the gaming aspect. They're addicted to, there's something else that's triggering the feeling of satisfaction.
Right.
I will admit, though, that the article does say that the amount of people that are going to be affected by something like this is like very small.
Right.
But my issue, though, is that they think that it's serious enough of a thing for them to actually update their books on this thing. I don't know, like, I don't know really what else to say about this other than the fact that I disagree with it, but I'm no psychiatrist or psychologist or anything of that nature. I guess I'll quote another bit from the article here. It says, in 2013, the American Psychiatric Association decided not to classify gaming addiction as a distinct disorder. Instead, it required further research alongside conditions such as caffeine use disorder. Currently, gambling disorder is the only officially recognized behavioral addiction in the U.S., unlike in China and South Korea, which have rolled out treatment programs for gaming disorder. All right, so this is where I'm gonna make a little bit of a rant here. Okay, so
go ahead.
We're gonna say gaming disorder is a problem, just like gambling disorder. Okay, and alcoholism is a problem as well, right?
Yeah.
Is the reason why a person drinks alcohol because they want to get drunk?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. There's usually other aspects as to why it's going through. So I don't know.
It's an escape.
It's an escape. I just feel like, I don't know. Is this a hill that I really want to die on? I don't know. I just feel like they're calling it a gaming disorder is ignoring other issues.
Yeah.
I may have an eating disorder, but I'm not eating just because I want to keep eating. I'm eating because I'm sad. I'm depressed. I'm a depressed person. I'm an emotional eater. I eat because it makes me feel better in the moment. Those types of things, just like with gaming. I don't know. I guess I just have a problem with calling it gaming disorder, calling it a gambling disorder, calling it, you know what I mean? Those types of things. I don't know. I'm probably, like I said, I'm probably totally missing the point and being angry for no reason, and maybe I should just go off on Twitter and just like have a bunch of angry tweets.
No, I mean, if you don't understand the point, then I don't either. I don't. If it's classified as a disorder, I guess whatever. Everything's got to have a name for something nowadays. But
they call it a mental disorder, though. They call it like something that's
baffling.
Do what?
It's baffling to me. I don't understand it.
It's like something you just, I don't know. I think this is beyond our pay grade, I guess. We just
yeah, I guess.
It's something I'm curious about. If any of you who actually listen to the podcast, if you have any thoughts on this, please let us know on our Facebook page or reach out to us via Twitter, because we want to know what other people think about this. We're not the only ones who obviously have an opinion, but yeah, I just can't agree with this. I just cannot. Let me tell you something. Total Biscuit, the late great Total Biscuit, God rest his soul.
Peace.
Yes, he would be furious at this.
I would love to hear him. I would love to hear him speak to this.
I would too. He every time someone would say that they're addicted to gaming, he would say, no, you're not addicted to gaming. It's like you're addicted to the feeling that you get from gaming.
Exactly.
You're addicted to that. It's a dopamine release in the brain. You're addicted to that chemical release that makes you feel better. It makes you feel great about life. It's escapism kind of a thing. And what they're saying in the article essentially is if you experience 12 months, at least 12 months of essentially you're not even living your life. All you're doing is gaming. Your relationships suffer. You can't even hold down a job. This is a gaming disorder.
That's where I'm getting my anger and frustration from. I don't game nearly as much as I used to. When I first, I guess as a kid, that's all I did. It was escape for me from reality. Not to get like super deep or anything, but video games were pretty much all I had.
Yeah.
Growing up. I didn't have mini games, but all the game, like I would sink so many, like hundreds of hours in Grand Theft Auto. But I don't look at.
So as a kid, you were playing an M-rated game.
Yeah, guilty. But yeah, look how I turned out. Right?
That was actually banned in my house.
Really?
Yet I was able to play GoldenEye.
Okay,
that's an M-rated game.
I kind of lost my train of thought, man. But
I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. But
I ruined it.
Gaming, for some people, gaming is their social life. I know a few people growing up that were terrible, like socially. They were socially awkward. Some of them had like crippling anxiety where they couldn't speak in front of people, to certain people. But behind a video game, behind a screen, behind a microphone, even they don't have to face them, I guess, face to face, and maybe that's a problem in of itself. But it was escape from their real world. It gives them a chance to actually have a friend, someone to talk to, someone to be there for. And if that's like playing a video game, like some friends I don't see anymore, obviously from high school and college and all that nonsense. And so I'll hop on topic of the show, I guess, Fortnite, and we'll play a few rounds of squads and then we'll go our separate ways. But I don't know, maybe I'm getting off topic again, but man.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from, because I played World of Warcraft for 4 years, and all I did really for those 4 years was I would occasionally try to go to school. I was working a job, and then I was just playing World of Warcraft. That's all I cared about.
But did you ever like call out of work to play World of Warcraft?
Sometimes. Sometimes.
I was gonna make a joke and say that the article was about you, but it seems kind of mean.
Well, no, I mean, I would totally pass that test, that criteria that they had. I would totally pass it, because I was living the game. That's all that I was. And the thing is, though, it wasn't the game. It wasn't just the game. I found something that I was good at. And
okay, yeah. See, that's also
for a long time in my life. At that point, and it's still something I struggle with today. I didn't think that I was good at anything, and then World of Warcraft comes out, and I'm playing as a hunter, and the hunter was a class that everyone just was, oh, here comes the hunter. He's a damage class, and everyone was just like, he's just going to stand in the back and he's just going to pew pew pew. That's all he does. It's hunter, whatever. And I looked at that class and said, no, I'm going to be the best that I can be. And at one point, and this may not be a big deal to anybody, but this meant the world to me. I got to a point where I was so good. There was about a 6-month period where I was so good at the game, with a hunter. I was. That's because all that I played as was a hunter. I was, according to this website that would rate like your gear score or something, because you would get gear from different raids and all that kind of stuff, and it would make you do more damage, or help you do more damage and be a better player, so to speak, stat wise. I was the 148th ranked hunter on this server.
Okay. Now, in the world?
No, on our server. On the server I was on.
How many people were in the server? Just for reference.
There's probably, I don't know how many people are on Blizzard servers. It felt like there could have been several hundred to a couple, maybe over 1,000 people. Okay. But the hunter was the most played class. Everybody played the hunter. Like, that was supposed to be your cheap and easy way of getting massive amounts of DPS on a boss. Was playing as either hunter or mage. And the thing is, though, is I learned skills that other hunters couldn't do. In fact, I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but just to kind of give an idea of how much time I spent in this game to be the best that I could. I could kite bosses. If it was a tank and spank type boss, or if another monster or minion or something came out and everyone's like, oh gosh, Chris, can you go and like kite that boss? So kiting was I would shoot at it and then I would run, and shoot at it and then I would run, and it would keep following me. But I would be kind of like a tank. But if it hits me, I'm dead. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to outrun that creature while shooting at it. Right. I got to be so good at that. It was the point where if we were going to raid that night in the guild that I was in, I was one of the people that was like, no, we got to have Chris.
That's a good feeling.
And that was a fantastic feeling. I felt like I belonged. I felt like, and I made friends with some people. There's actually some people I'm still like on Facebook that I'm still friends with. And I don't talk to them so much anymore. We've gone our separate ways, but
right. The
amount of social interaction that I got to have was beyond anything that I was experiencing in my real life. And, I'm not saying that I couldn't wait to get off, work to go and spend time in my virtual world, but it was kind of a bit of that, because here I could go into a place where it didn't matter how I looked, how I talked, who I was. These people accepted me. They accepted me, and they respected me. And that was something that I sorely lacked in the real world. Now, I know some people could say, why don't you then just work on doing, being that person in the real world? Sometimes that's a really difficult thing to do.
Yeah, that's definitely harder said than done.
And, granted, though, being the age that I am now, I kind of wish that in those 4 years that I had to try to work on, improving my own self-image and whatnot. But it is what it is. And to say that if someone were to look at me during those 4 years and say, well, you've got gaming disorder, you got to go talk to a therapist. I'd be like, what?
Yeah, I'd be like, you're out of your mind.
Like, no, I'm playing this game because, you know what? My real life sucks, and I'm unhappy with who I am in real life and how things are going, and I can't really change much right now. So, escapism, yeah, but I guess some people would look at that and say, well, then they need to pull you out of that, place that you're in to make you a more productive member of society. And if someone says something like that, well, then I just, look at them and say, you're just a freaking communist.
I mean, so not to go too deep into this, but how old were you when you started playing? You said 2008, 2012. So how old were you in 2008?
In 2008, I was 19, 20 years old.
Okay. So majority, I want to argue that a lot of 19 and 20-year-olds aren't providing much to society as is. They're either in college or they're working a low class job. I mean, that sounds wrong.
You're working retail or fast food because you don't have a degree to...
Right, a minimum wage job.
Yeah.
You know, something to get you some extra bucks. That's what I did when I was 18.
I was working at a department store, and this was after I'd had a falling out. I couldn't get... I've tried working industrial jobs, and it just wasn't working out for me. So, at the time, I was still dealing with... I was actually still dealing with some depression. I had a lot of stuff when I was 18, so 2007. I had a lot of stuff, a lot of bad stuff kind of hit me, like boom, boom, boom kind of a thing. And I was just meandering. I was kind of just wandering around aimlessly until, you know, I started trying out World of Warcraft. And then, like I said, that's where I found my place. And the thing is, though, is eventually I got to a point, though, where I said, I can be the best that I can be in this game. It was 2012. That was when that's when I just stopped playing. It was January 2012. I remember.
Is there a reason you stopped playing?
All my friends had gone.
Okay.
I was in one of the main hub towns, Orgrimmar, and I remember just walking around being like, why am I still playing this? Like, most of my friends have stopped playing this game. A guild that I had been in just recently had actually blown up. I think it had blown up because one of the other guild members started sleeping with one of the other guild members, like sister or something, and it was
in real life.
In real life.
Okay.
And it was just drama. Man. Drama in guilds was like a daily thing. Wow. And these were like high-ranking guild members too, like officers, kind of a thing. And
that's crazy.
Yeah. And it was at that point, you know, that then the entire I just logged in one day, and like the entire half of the freaking raid roster had just they'd quit the guild. They had left. They'd gone. In fact, they just deleted their accounts. It was like that bad. But I was just like, I'm not getting anything out of this anymore. And, you know, that feeling that I had of being, you know, kind of a winner, being the respected person, it was gone because all the people who had respected me had left.
Yeah, they moved on, I guess.
And I kind of then decided I was like, well, I need to do something with my life. So,
but pretty much that was your college years. I guess you could say that.
I'm still living in my college years, unfortunately, but
yeah, I mean, like age-wise, like I guess typical would be what 18 to 24ish.
Yeah, and I essentially spent the entire time of that just. I don't want to get too like deep myself into all this stuff, but literally the majority of my life since graduating high school is just trying to find out what am I good at. You know, I think a lot of people suffer from that nowadays. Like, I'm 22. I would have graduated college last year, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't really want to go back to school at the time. I just wanted to work and make some money and just enjoy the adolescence while I could. Yeah. I thought the same thing. And then, I'm not even going to. I could keep talking on this, and we could make this like an entire, like, different kind of podcast. But we'll
save it for another episode then. We'll do a bonus episode or something.
I don't know. Maybe something. I don't know if I want everyone to know that much about me.
Mm-hmm. Mysterious Batman.
Yes, indeed. I am the Bat producer. So I want us to move on to the last topic that we had at hand, and that's the future of console gaming. What is it? What will it be? What could it be?
For the foreseeable future, I don't believe it's going to change that much.
No, but in 2 years, though, we're going to be getting, I think, a taste of what's to come.
You think so?
I think so.
What do you think is going to be drastically, or maybe not drastically, but what do you think is going to be different from this generation to the next?
I don't really know outside of the fact that they're just going to try to come out with some new device that they can sell more money on, or like make more money off of.
It's like a console?
It would be a console. Now, according to this Gizmodo article, the author, which I feel like is actually a really good article. There's a lot of good information and a lot of good cited material. The title of this article is "If Streaming is the Future of Console Gaming, It Might Be Screwed." So I recommend people to go and look that up because that's a super great article. Like I said, the author did a great job. She did her homework on that article. I don't think we'll see streaming boxes in 2 years. I don't think we're at that point. I think it could happen though.
I think it's too soon. But I guess we're talking about future. It would be endless, but I'm sure it'll eventually get to all streaming, which I'm not for it, man. I like physical copies of games. I'm more of a PC gamer now than I am a console gamer, which is obviously digital. I guess not obviously. They still make discs, I assume. But if you're a PC gamer, you're...
What are we talking about, man? Floppy disks. I still play that.
Yeah, baby. Hit that Pac-Man up.
I want my Commodore 64 right here. Where's my Amiga? My Amiga.
Mega Man. If someone called Mega Man, I don't know how I would react. I don't want anything about it. But back to the topic. I think Xbox, the reason Xbox tried to reinvent the wheel, and try to get a jump start on the digital only process back in 2013 when they announced the Xbox One. I think they botched it, but I think that they were definitely ahead of the curve. The idea, I actually like this idea that when you bought a physical disc, you put it in your console, the disc tray, it downloads the digital version of the game for you. That way you don't necessarily need the disc in the console to play it. That way you kind of get the best of both worlds, you know? I might be remembering this wrong. I think that's how it worked. Because there was always the question of how, well, if it downloads that, you can just sell it back to, like, GameStop or something. Am I wrong on that? Am I remembering that wrong?
Well, I mean, that's how it is right now with PlayStation. Like, you physically cannot play the game without having the disc in the drive if you bought a physical
No.
copy.
So it's like the opposite of that. So, like...
Oh, where it would just play the game and...
Yeah, without the disc. Like, you put the disc in, it gets, like, the files that saying, like, you were paid for the game or whatever. It downloads the digital... Like, it downloads the game from the internet, or from the disc, and then you won't need the disc anymore because it's already downloaded to your hard drive. Am I remembering that wrong?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you.
I think that was it, but I could be wrong. If anybody's listening and you're like cringing at how bad I am,
it's okay because we're cringing
it's
too.
well deserved. Yeah. I probably should have fact checked that.
Yes, this is the reason why we should always fact check our thought. I don't know. It's a stream of thoughts podcast.
It's all good, baby. You're listening to us talk anyway. I think that's how it worked. I could be wrong. Because I'm pretty sure for a while they were like, what's the point of having a disc tray then? And then they wanted an Xbox without the disc tray and then without the Kinect for cheaper because it was $500. And no one wanted the Kinect. It's a sham. Get over it. But instead they focused on sports and TV and sports.
Sports.
I don't want to live in a world where everything's streamable because I don't think the internet providers are going to provide the kind of service that you would need in order to accommodate gaming, because we're going into the 4K era now. Well, we are in the 4K era. And you have the Gizmodo article in front of you, correct?
Yes.
Could you possibly find the megabytes per second that it would need in order to play at 720p, 60 frames a second, and then 1080p?
Absolutely. Now, just to kind of clarify, though, based off what the article says, this is for NVIDIA streaming service. that already exists. And so if you have a Shield, their actual console, it's a PC kind of console, which I want one of those now that I'm thinking about it.
NVIDIA Shield?
Yeah, I want an NVIDIA Shield because you can play PC games on it.
You can. My friend had one. He liked it, but he had a gaming PC, so he didn't really use it that much.
I don't know. That might be an alternative to actually doing the whole gaming PC. Anyways, so according to the Gizmodo article, NVIDIA's service requires, and I'm quoting this directly from the article, requires at least 15 megabits per second for 720p at 60 frames per second. And 25 megabits per second for 1080p at 60 frames per second. Well, both of those are obviously going to be at 60 frames per second, but holy crap, can you imagine 25 megabits per second? That's
for 720, right?
Yeah, or no, that's for 1080. That's for 1080. So for 720, it's 15 megabits per second. This is what's insane to me. Like, I could probably handle that currently where I live, but at the last several places that I ended up living, that because I rent spaces out of places, and like the last place I lived at, we had the internet was 24 megabits per second, but it was shared amongst like 6 people.
Okay.
There was no freaking way, especially considering the fact that 3 of those 6 people were gamers. There was no way that this a service such as this is gonna do you any good. I mean, I remember trying out the PlayStation's streaming service, the PlayStation Now.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. It's really neat, but if anyone else is doing anything on your network, then I mean you're going to be pulling the bandwidth down like drastically. It just doesn't seem like it's a platform. I think it works for niche systems, and I think if you were to give it an option, like right now with the PlayStation, PlayStation Now, it's an optional streaming service.
Right.
You give it as an option, as if you have the internet, then you can do this. That would work. But if you force people into it, then it's gonna be that much more difficult. And honestly, this is all just speculation.
Yeah.
The article, the author of the article actually even kind of states that it just looks like that this is the direction that both Microsoft and Sony are going in. That doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. We'll know more in, I think, 2 years. We'll have a better idea of the direction that they're heading in. Who knows? Right. They may say something next year about it. But
it could.
It just seems that once again, based off the article, I'm gonna keep giving the article credit for all this information because, like I said, this was one of the best articles I think I've ever read off of Gizmodo. She went on to state that the technology that Sony is working right now with, that they're actually that AMD, the chip manufacturer,
right,
is working to develop this hardware for Sony, but the hardware doesn't look like it's going to be any better than the current market of like parts, like hardware and stuff.
Like for PCs, correct?
Yeah. So it says. Now, what's cool is that they are basing the GPU, which is the graphics
processing unit.
Yeah, graphical processing unit. They're basing it off of the 7 nanometer process. That's gonna there's gonna be maybe one person who understands what's going on with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're going super deep nerd right now.
Essentially, what this just means is that as technology progresses, everything gets smaller but more powerful. That's all that this means. That means it's a smaller, like the hardware and everything is gonna be it's gonna allow it to be smaller. Like it honestly comes down to like transistors and stuff like that, but I'm not gonna go that deep into it. just know that things are getting smaller, like processing chips and all that kind of stuff. It's getting smaller, but it's still as powerful.
Right.
So essentially, the argument that is made, which I'm trying to see here, is that okay. So it says here in the article. So how does this hardware relate to streaming? It says, well, because of what we know about Navi, which is apparently the what this GPU architecture is being called, that's being developed. There's the author cites another website, PC Games In, reported that Navi, while powerful, wouldn't be a super powerful GPU like the current Vega or the 10 series from rival NVIDIA. Instead, It's a mid-range GPU.
Is this for both? Because if I'm not mistaken, Xbox One X is, if not equal to a 1060, it's right below it.
That I don't know.
That thing is powerful. I can double check.
So
that thing is massively powerful.
So to quote again, to quote this article again, because like I said, there's so many good tidbits here. It says, what this means is that a potential PS5 released in 2020, that's speculation, if it happens, wouldn't even necessarily be as powerful as a gaming PC built now in 2018. So that's a problem, because next generation games are already, according to this person from Variety, which is another article that they cite, because the next generation games are already choking on top tier PC systems.
Mm-hmm.
Consoles can squeeze a lot more performance out of hardware thanks to the fact that they don't have to multitask as much, and that game developers can code to specific hardware instead of designing games to work on a wide range of hardware. But it's still a tall order to ask them to develop for something not even as powerful as a gaming PC built today. That is the proof that she gives that Sony is building something that is meant for streaming.
Okay, so to hop back in with the fact check, this is from PC Gamer when the Xbox One X was fixing to launch. It says, in terms of desktops, at $500, the Xbox One X competes with our cheap PC gaming build guide. And for the price, the specs are pretty similar. Our rig has a 3GB GTX 1060, which is a graphics card.
That's a pretty beefy graphics card.
Yeah. It's the lower end of the 10 series, but it's still a very good card.
I would like to have one.
Yeah. I have a 1070 in my rig, and I'm set for the future.
Yeah, we've gotten to a point where like graphics cards, like they can come out with new graphics cards, but the 10 series, you get something from the 10 series, and you're going to be set for a while.
Yeah, well, graphics cards are very expensive right now because of
cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, but that's a topic for another day. But yeah,
I might touch on that next week.
It's yeah, we can do that. But yeah, it's on par with a cheap PC. For $500, you get an amazing machine in the Xbox One X. It is a powerful beast.
Because how much is a Mitch? How much is a 1060 right now on the market?
Let me check Newegg. That's usually a good site to buy PC parts from. Let's see.
Yeah, if I can't buy them from my local hardware part stores, I tend to shop there too.
So 1060, it depends. Obviously, it depends on the brand,
right.
And if it's new or not. I'm finding one as low as $229. That's a gigabyte. But if you want to get into the higher brands like an EVGA or an MSI, you are going to be paying over $300.
And do we know if the Xbox's essentially 1060. Is it similar like to those lower end ones? Do we know if it's a higher end one? I mean, do I don't know if we have the specs on that, but
yeah, it would be hard to decipher just because it's integrated. Like the PCs are more individualistic, whereas consoles are, because they're so much smaller. They're integrated more with like your RAM and your processors, so it's hard to tell.
I'm just trying to see if they actually have the specs for that thing.
I'm just interested. I'm just gonna throw this little tidbit in to see how much a GTX 1070 is. I have the MSI version, and the MSI version, that is a TI, so that is not exactly what I have. The next step up from mine, which is basically like the iPhone 7S to the iPhone 7, is $500 right. I believe I paid $350 for mine.
Yeah, that makes sense. So essentially,
I mean, go ahead.
I'm just saying, essentially, you have with these consoles, you know, this is the point. The point that's being proven here is that you have, you know, low end PCs right here that are being sold to you for much cheaper than it would cost. A lot of times, these graphics cards cost as much as the consoles themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but the fact that they're going to be developing, at least Sony is developing. Actually, you know what? I'm wondering something here. I'm just thinking out loud.
Go on.
I'm going all Ed Sheeran right now. Anyone laugh at that joke? No? Okay.
It's a no from me.
Yeah. I wonder if this that Sony's developing, could it be like another handheld? Is it strictly, do we know for certain it's the PS5?
No, but do we see Sony investing? I mean, I guess you could be sitting back right now looking at how successful the Switch is, but man, you really underutilize that Vita. I love my Vita so much, Vita Island for life, but man.
But I'm just saying, what if what they're doing is they're trying to develop a way similar to the Switch, but you stream these games onto this device. It's a smaller device, right? Because the technology that's being developed for it.
Yeah.
You know, this device could be allowed, you know, it can allow you to play these next gen, like, not like the Switch. Switch has got technological, like, limitations.
Yes.
But what if you could play something like a top tier, like graphic heavy game, that would require a lot of processing power, but you just stream it in onto this handheld device?
Kind of like a Shield, then.
Yeah, like a Shield, but
stronger.
You're playing PlayStation games.
In an ideal world, that would be cool, but I just don't see that happening whatsoever.
You know, I just feel like we're eventually going to be getting to this point with these consoles where you're just going to have streaming devices, and it doesn't matter, you know, what the next iteration is. You're going to be paying a flat fee for the streaming service. It's probably going to be something like PlayStation, you know, now where it's like $50 a month, and you know, the new game comes out, and you know, they'll have to figure out some way of making more money off of it.
Well, look at Game Pass right now. Game Pass is doing great. That's Xbox's streaming service. You pay $10 a month. You get access to every Xbox game. To my knowledge, you get access to every game. And then from here on out, to my knowledge, every game that comes out, you get that game day of. I mean, you have to have the Xbox One, obviously, to stream that too. But, I mean, you download the games.
So you have to have both Xbox Live Gold plus this extra $10 on top?
Yeah.
I mean,
but I mean, if you're doing a streaming service, you can integrate those two, you know?
Well,
like, make it $25 a month. and then you get Live plus you get Games Pass.
But I'm trying to think though, how are they going to make money off of something like that if it's just the flat price that you're paying? You know, it ends up coming into the problem with Movie Pass, where
from their perspective, it would be they wouldn't spend as much money on the hardware side of it, and it would just be like if you're doing something that streams from the internet, obviously. You wouldn't necessarily need the hard, like, I guess not as detailed hardware. You just need a device like an Xbox little box, kind of like Apple TV. Maybe I'm completely off, but I don't know.
I'm thinking what they would do is games that would be exclusive to Microsoft. You get any game that was like developed or published under Microsoft, you get that game here, or just like on your Xbox through the streaming service. But if you want, say, I don't know, the next Madden game, Madden's not offered through the streaming service. You have to spend that $60 for Madden. That's
yeah. This is. I'm just like earlier. I'm sure this is above our pay grade.
Potentially, but I'm a little bit of experience with crap like this as opposed to the other thing. I just think that's because I'm just looking at how is Microsoft going to make any additional money based off of just doing. And I'm not talking about the consoles. I'm not even talking about the consoles. I'm talking about from the games themselves. Because if you're offering, this new game, it comes out. And you're putting it on to the streaming service that people are just paying $10 a month for, are you expecting so many people to join up on that service to justify the cost of the game essentially being free?
I don't know.
Are you going to have a tier system where it's like, yeah, you get all the original Xbox games and you get all the Xbox 360 games for $10 a month? With select Xbox One games added to that. But for $25 a month, you get all that plus every new game that comes out.
And would that just be their service or not? And you'd have to buy third parties?
Yeah, you would have to buy third parties. Imagine, dude, if EA found a way to bring Origins, they made that an app. And that app you could download on either Sony or Microsoft's streaming service.
Yeah, I would assume that's how they would have to do it. Like, everything would come as a service.
And then you could technically purchase games through Origin, or you could pay a subscription fee and stream every single EA game. Every single game that EA has ever had come out, all of the stuff that they own, all of the like companies or IPs that they own. If it's a game, if it was made, boom, there you go. You get that service.
Yeah, I'm sure that one day everything will be like that. Ubisoft will jump in. I'm sure Square will. Square likes money.
Yeah. And essentially,
Final Fantasy, so.
I mean, essentially you'd have each of these developers would have their own app. And so if you wanted to play these games, this is the way that you'd have to go about it. And that would suck.
Yeah.
Man. That's the future. That's probably what would happen. I wouldn't be surprised. I'll have to have someone check back to this episode, 10 years from now.
Yeah, check back 10 years. If we're not here, find us.
Yeah, find us somewhere. Track us down. Tell us how right we were. Actually, don't track me down. That's terrifying. But, anyways, I think that kind of wraps up the discussion on a
negative
that was good
note. Talk. I like that.
Skynet, yeah. So anyways, thanks guys for listening. Trying to think if there's anything else to say. Oh yeah, Mitch, if you want to give the lovely listeners where to find us on social media again.
Yeah. If you're looking for our podcast, we're on a few different sites, so I'll list them all.
Everywhere.
We are on Facebook.com/SSG Podcast. We are on Twitter at SSG_podcast. We are on Spreaker at Spreaker.com/Chris and Mitch. And we are also on YouTube. I'm not exactly sure the URL, so just type in SSG Podcast, and you will see the bright red image with SSG in bold white letters with Chris and I's face plastered to it.
Yes, sir. So, anyways, thanks everyone once again for listening to this episode. We hope that if you guys have any questions or concerns, you reach out to us on those social media links, and we always pay attention, and we're looking forward to any future discussions. So, thanks again, guys, and we will see you guys next week. Take care.
Take care. Bottom.